Hello, Stampers. Welcome. I am Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair. And this week I am featuring the Nature Symphony bundle. It is from a suite of products called, I'm thinking Nature's Walk, I think it is. I don't know, I should do a better job of memorizing product names, but I don't. Anyway, we're going to use the bundle and the designer series paper, one of the designer series paper in that suite. So let's just go ahead and flip the camera over and get this card made. Now I am playing a little bit again with my microphones this week, so I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to get by with one microphone instead of two and having to flip between the two. Because when I flip between the two, I tend to forget things. So this is the card that will be posted on my blog tomorrow, Thursday. And we're going to make this card. And the main thing that I want to show you, we're going to make the whole card. I have much of it already prepared because I do like to minimize the length of these videos. So if you just want to get to the basics, just fast forward, right? But I'm going to show you how to distress this foil. This foil is from the foil called Garden Textures, and it comes in 3 colors in the pack. Isn't this pretty? It is textured, and I'm going to pull it up close. I think you can see that texture. There's blueberry bushel, shaded spruce, and berry burst. Just gorgeous, regal, bright colors. This one used the blueberry bushel, as you can see, and my card is a little bit monochromatic. It's all blues, balmy blue. But the card today, we're going to use the shaded spruce foil. So we're going to use this one. And so I'm going to do a variant of this card. It's basically the same card, but we're just going to make it in shaded spruce and garden greens. So let's go ahead and get that started. I'm going to show you how I distressed this. Now, this did not turn out on this one the way I had planned. I tried to follow a tutorial that I had seen during the Creative 8 retreat done by Brandy Cox, and her card was absolutely beautiful. And I loved the technique. And so I tried to do that technique. I couldn't get it to work with this foil. And I'm not sure. I tried it with many, many different foils. Here's how my blue one turned out initially. And I think what my problem is when we sand this, there's color on here. So there's an extra layer of something. She used our normal silver and gold foils, and I had to sand an awful lot to get down to the paper. And then you take a blending brush and try to antique it with, we use Secret C is what I used on here. But I didn't like how that looked because I had such big spots showing. So I nixed that idea and I simplified it for this card. I did use a sanding block that I just bought at our local Ace Hardware. This particular one has coarse on one side and medium on the other because I wasn't sure if I was supposed, what grit of sandpaper I was supposed to use. So I did find out that the coarse one worked a little bit better. And here's a tip she gave us, and it's a good tip. This does make sanding dust. So get a piece of paper that you can contain it on. Don't have any open ink or anything around you. I messed up on that a little bit, so my Secret C ink got a little bit gritty. I think I got most of it out. But anyway, just take your sanding block and rub over it. Now that's very lightly. It doesn't do a thing. This is tough foil, this textured foil. And I'm sure there must be a separate layer of color on here. So you have to give fairly good amount of pressure. I would say find a foil or just take a little scrap and practice it. So we're gonna sand this. You also might need to just use a corner. Like you can go back and forth. In my case, I'm doing all in one direction. You could go in multiple directions, but here I just did one. The grittier this is, the better, okay? I had to push pretty hard, and you can see I got the edges started, and I got a little spot over here going because I went back and forth with kind of an edge. This does wear down too, and mine is kind of worn down. This is rougher. I'm gonna try to use this because I haven't used that. So let's continue our scratching. And I'm just trying to scratch it up. You can go in both directions. I want to get my edges distressed. And I got to tell you, this is some of the toughest foil I have worked with. So I'm not sure if that's why I was having so much issue, because this texture tends to make it tougher. I do know from my engineering days, if you work metal, foil is metal, it becomes stronger. And so I'm expecting or suspecting that this texture on here is really adding some toughness on here. And I don't want a lot of distressing anyway. I'm not a huge distresser. It just kind of isn't my style. I sort of like clean, but I wanted to try it. So again, I'm going in one direction. I'm trying to get some little bit of streaks and scratches, and just keep working it. Be patient. I can show you some other samples I did with smooth foil, and I did find it works a little bit better. But even now, even though I've got the green off, there is still foil here. So if I try to take ink and distress this, it doesn't stick because there's still silver foil under this colored layer. So, all right, I think I want a little spot right there. I did find using the edge does kind of help me on this tough foil. But I think that's enough anyway. So I'm going to get rid of this. Maybe this is one side's going to be kind of covered up anyway. Because I'm covering it with those leaves. So let's get rid of this mess. And you see the grit on there. It's mostly, in the case of this card, and I'm just going to get rid of that. We'll just work on my mat here. And I probably should grab a piece of paper towel, and I'm going to just wet it a little bit to just pick up any excess grit that fell off the paper. So, but most of what's on my paper is really, it's the grit from the sanding block, almost more so than grit from this paper. So, but I am going to take this damp. This is just slightly damp because I just spritzed it lightly. And I'm just going to take this off to give it back some of its sheen. Okay, but it is distressed. So that is it. That's how I distressed my textured garden foil or garden textured foil. So now all we have left to do is assemble. I debated back and forth, did I want garden green or shaded spruce? When I switched to greens, I'll be honest, it was a tough decision. I liked some things with the shaded spruce and some with some aspect of the garden green better. And I finally I started out with shaded spruce and I switched to garden green. I hope you can see this on my little bit darker background. Should I grab another white sheet? Would it be easier? I don't know. Maybe I have an easy piece of grid paper out there. Here's one. It might be easier to see. I don't know. All right. Now, the designer series paper that I used on this card is Nature's Walk. And I'm using the same one. There is a green version in there. Why don't I just show you those two so you can see the whole thing? This is the blueberry bushel version. And here is the garden green slash slated shaded spruce slash, I think, mossy meadow. Lots of different greens in here. But aren't they pretty? The hardest part is figuring out when you're just using a little tiny piece, which piece of it did I want to use? So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this here. We are done except for assembly. So that was basically the little quick distressing foil technique that I wanted to show you. The way I did it, how I did it, I do have that documented in the tutorial that will be on the blog with tomorrow's card. Again, the tutorial is for this card, and so it calls out all the blue colors, but everything else is the same. So this piece, you just want equal distance approximately here. And this one I'm going to lay on here. And I'm going to make this distance over here equal to this one. And then we'll center it vertically. And I'm adhering these directly, not with dimensionals, which is unusual for me. But we're going to get our texture from the leaves. So now which side do I want up? This side or this side? This one's got a little more distressing over here. I think I'll use this one. And I'm going to space this over here equal to what I have approximately over here, and then we'll center it vertically as best we can eyeball it. Sometimes it does help if you lay it straight on your grid paper, because then you can, your grid lines kind of help you a little bit. At least they do me, to get things straight. Okay, close enough. So I have my 2 leaves already made. This one is die cut from Garden Green, and we're going to put this one on here first. This is where I went back and forth too. Do I want this shaded spruce? And the Garden Green kind of stood out a little bit better, I thought, on this shaded spruce. I don't know. There was something I liked about the Garden Green. You could certainly change all of these garden greens to shaded spruce. No reason you couldn't. This is stamped in Garden Green, and we're going to put this one somewhere on top of it. Now, what I like to do, and you can use your bone folder, I like to curl these. This is cut with the die from the bundle, Nature Symphony. These are the dies that are in this set. I haven't used them all yet, but I'm going to get there. And then this is the stamp set, and it's got some great sentiments in here. It's a great set if you have trouble when you need a more masculine card. It's even got in here To a Great Guy, so perfect for the guys. This one is just die cut. And like I said, I like to curl these a little bit. And you can do it with your fingers like I just showed you, or you can take your bone folder and just kind of curl it like you would curling ribbon. Sometimes on these really delicate pieces, because this is delicate, I like to just do it with my fingers. The other thing I would say about this die is, can you see all the detail in the leaves? Help yourself. Put a piece of wax paper between the die and the cardstock. It'll help it release so much easier from the die, particularly if you're using some sort of a delicate paper. I made one out of vellum, and the first one I made was in pieces by the time I got it out. So the wax paper between those just helps release it from the die. So I am just going to adhere along the stems here. And I should grab my I should grab my silicone mat just to keep a little bit of glue off my workspace as best I can. And I'm just going to apply this basically just along the stem and maybe kind of at the base of some of these leaves. I want to leave it free, and you'll see why in a minute, why I want to do that. I want to be able to lift the leaves if I can. And where do I want it? I want this kind of up here, I guess. So there we are. Good enough. Close enough. But you can see, even without dimensionals, if you just adhere the center, the lifting of the tips kind of gives you some dimension. So now we're going to take this, and I'm going to rub these on my fingers as well to just curl it a little bit, because again, I'm going to, for the most part, just adhere along the stem. And here out on the ends, I will add a few dimensionals, just a couple here and there, just to keep it lifted. But you want to get the stems adhered down. And then if you have small dimensionals, ooh, I'm almost out. I'm down to borders. Just kind of maybe put a small dimensional out on the end of these tips. I'm limited how many I can put on here because I don't have any left. I could cut them in pieces, right? So, okay. I'm going to add this now over this stem. Kind of figure out where I want it. I don't want to totally cover up the one underneath. So I want to tip it a little bit more or this way. I think I'm going to put it right about there. Now you can see I've got stems kind of not on top of each other, but that's okay because we cover that up with the sentiment. And just press that down where you put some adhesive, and you can see a lot of it's loose. Once I take off the backings, off the dimensionals, I could have done that first. Doesn't really matter. Sometimes I like to leave those off because on these delicate things, it allows me to, it's easy to flip them back, but it also kind of allows you to move it around a little bit more to figure out where you want it. Now, if you can, carefully, this is why I left these free, kind of pick up some of these leaves, pull them out from under. You want to do this carefully because you don't want to tear them. And just have them come up top in a couple places where you can. So I was able to get this one up, this one's buried probably a little bit too much. I'd have to really, I don't want to take a chance of tearing, but I like to have them, some of them kind of poking through because that's kind of how real leaves are, right? This one down here, you take your pick tool. This little one down here, if I can get him out and pull him up there, it just adds a little bit more texture. And I think it makes it a little more realistic. So now I have a sentiment, and I am just going to adhere that right here. This is basic white. The background, again, I debated, should I put this in basic beige, the same color? And I didn't know what to do. So finally I just said, do it white. I wanted it to show a little bit where it's going to lap down here on the basic beige. And so I played with basic white. I played with both colors and kind of like this, the white. Same way with stamping this image. I did stamp it on white, could have stamped it on basic beige. But here we're going to come in and we're going to cover up those ends of those stems. And there we have it. Our card is done except for some gems. This stamp set is from Prayers and Promises, or this stamp is from Prayers and Promises. And the inside that we're going to put in here is also from Prayers and Promises. This is if you have a need for sending people comfort, sympathy cards, or just, great things to provide some hope and encouragement. It is a great stamp set for that. There's a lot of choices of beautiful, meaningful sentiments on that set. And I'm just going to attach this here. Simple garden green mat, basic white message layer. There's a small leaf stamp set, which I just stamped a couple times down here in the corner, and a sentiment. So that's it. That's our card. Now, totally optional. I like a little bit of bling here and there, but I wanted it to be subtle. You don't want to get too blingy on a sympathy card, right? So I found these iridescent foil gems, which are for the most part clear with a hint of iridescence in them. So we're just going to add a couple of these. I'm pretty sure these are retired. But anything you have, you could just use basic rhinestones would be fine too. I didn't want quite that much bling, but anything would work fine. So it looks like my circle's a little bit crooked. Oh well, it is what it is. That means it's handmade. And I could use the same DSP on the back. So that's it, guys. Let's flip back to the other camera. And I'm going to leave my microphone where it is. And I hope you can hear me. If not, I'm going to have to make this whole card again, and you won't even know about this problem. But let's give it a try. That's it. Antiquing foil. I hope that was a little bit interesting. I shared a few of my trials and tribulations with you, and sometimes I don't want to make it sound like it's too hard. It's not hard. It's just one of those things that if you hadn't done it before, and if you've got a little bit of a unique kind of a foil, either colored foil or this textured foil, then you might want to play with samples, because it takes a fair amount of force, I'm going to say, on your stamping, on your sanding block, to get it to come off. And you don't want too much off, because then it looks like that piece that I had, which was kind of ugly. So that's it, guys. Hope it helped. Have a great day and a great rest of your week. I will see you next week with something else. Don't forget to subscribe and click the thumbs up button. That will help me. Thank you. So have a great one. God bless. We will see you again.